Howdy YouTube, Darlington Farm here. Got my MS660 out. I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance on it here. Just kind of going to go through generally what I kind of do every year as far as upkeep on this thing. Just kind of make sure that it is in good shape. Usually what I will start off with here is just pulling the bar off. This is the 28-inch steel bar here. Pretty damn heavy. I like my aluminum reduced weight bar better, but you know, kind of look, inspect the bar, see if you need to flip it. You can flip these things on over depending on how they're wearing. Just make sure that the oil ports up here are free of any debris. One thing I have noticed about this 660 is it seems like it under oils. I went ahead and year before last put a new oiler in it. Didn't really seem like it did a whole lot. I don't know, I've seen somewhere where there was a kit as far as one you could get that had a bigger oiler. I may look into that in the future because I like running a 4-foot bar on this for slabbing. The next thing is kind of make sure your oil groove right here doesn't have any crap in it. Just kind of clean it up. I'll probably take this thing outside here in a minute and blow it out with the air compressor. Then check the bearings in your clutch and check your rim sprocket here. This seems okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off here just so you can see how this works. Basically, you just need a little screwdriver to pop out the C-clip here. See if I can do this without flipping it across the garage. Oh, come on. Trying to do this on camera without flipping the damn thing. There we go, across the garage. All right, so you just have a little C-clip there, and you've got a washer here. Then you can pull off your sprocket. Now this, there are a couple different size sprockets. This is a 3/8 If your saw is not juiced up like this one, you probably want to, I believe it's a 3/8 where you have a little more torque. This saw has the big bore piston, ported muffler, and all that, so it basically runs like crazy. Then you can slide off your clutch here, kind of inspect it. This one is good because it's only a couple years old, although it does look like there is a little bit of metal on the inside there, which is kind of weird. And then the bearing here, this is important that this bearing gets greased. I'm going to go ahead and grease this guy before I put it back together here, and then just kind of look at your clutch. Clutch looks like it's in good shape. Now, when you are reinstalling your clutch drum here, there is a little notch in one side that matches up with, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but there is a little finger that sticks out on the back side of the clutch here. That is for your oiler. So basically, as the clutch turns, it spins the oiler, but you just have to make damn sure that you get that little notch right there to match up with that. Otherwise, your oiler is not going to work. All right, so everything looks good there. We're going to go ahead and grease up our rims, or our clutch bearing. I'm going to go ahead and pull the carburetor apart here because for whatever reason I put a new fuel filter in this guy, but it seems like the screen in the carburetor gets funk in it. I don't know why, but it seems like it gets funk in it. Now I have a max flow aftermarket air filter on this. Some people hate these, some people love them. It was on the saw when I bought it. I haven't had any problems with it. Now next, you're going to need an 8mm spin tight or socket to get the plate here off. Just make sure you put the choke on there so you don't drop these down in the carburetor. I put these aside here so they don't get lost. Alright, now get this guy off here. You can go ahead and pull off your little bracket here, and then this guy right here will just pop right off like so. We'll put that guy aside. Now I'm trying to remember how to do this. If I remember correctly, the carburetor here will just slide right out of there. It's been, I think, a year since I've had this guy out. Oh, you got to pop off. You got to pop off the adjuster here. And that just is a rubber deal that's in the side here. That just pops out of there like that. Let's see if we can get this guy the rest of the way out here. All right. Yeah. All right. So now What's holding this on here? Oh, I forgot. You got to get the throttle linkage loose. And that you kind of have to just work your finger down in there. There's a little tab that you just kind of have to get it loose on. There we go. Now we should be good to pop it loose. Pull our throttle linkage there out of the way. Get our fuel line loose, which is over here on this side, which can kind of be a pain sometimes to get loose. There we go. Alright, now we just slid out the carburetor, and I'm going to move the camera around here so you can get a little bit better view of this. Alright, so here's what the inside of the 660 looks like. You've got crank vent down here, you've got your fuel line right here coming up from your gas tank, and the carburetor just slides on these two studs in and out of there. And then over here you have your throttle linkage, which it's really easy to take loose. You've just got a little tab right there that it slides up in. So pretty simple. We're going to go ahead and pull the carburetor next. Carburetor apart, rather. Very simple to take apart here, at least as far as I'm going to go. You just have 4 screws on the bottom here, and I just want to check and make sure I don't have crap in the carburetor screen. If you're having a problem with your saw revving up and then cutting out as you go to put a load on it, check the screen here in your carburetor, and you should probably use a Phillips on this. This just happened to be the screwdriver I had handy. Now pull this guy off here. There's a little membrane in there that is one way that it goes in there. This has your valves, your little flapper valves as far as the fuel pump goes. Now I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. There is some crap on the fuel screen. Right there is the fuel screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and take and spray this out, and you should probably use a Phillips on this. This just happened to be the screwdriver I had handy. Now pull this guy off here. There's a little membrane in there that is one way that it goes in there. This has your valves, your little flapper valves as far as the fuel pump goes. Now I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. There is some crap on the fuel screen. Right there is the fuel screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and take and spray this out. Alright, so I went ahead and sprayed this guy out with some carbon choke cleaner. Now again, if your saw has a clogged fuel screen here in the carburetor, when you go to run it, it'll idle just fine, but when you go to rev it up, it'll cut out and kind of die. And that will happen regardless of whether you've changed the in-tank fuel filter. I've changed the filter on this guy several times and still had issues with this. I don't really know why, but yeah, it seems to give me some problems. It's usually about once a year I have to change or have to clean that guy out. This diaphragm gasket thingy here only goes on one way, and so basically there's a pin right there that sticks up. And what I will generally do is just take a tiny bit of grease over here in the corners, just to hold this guy on there until I can get the thing assembled. And it doesn't take a whole lot. Whoops, I got too much on there. Hope that doesn't give me troubles. Basically, there we go. And this just acts kind of like glue until we can get it flipped over and installed. And as you can see, these there are little cutouts here that act like little one-way valves. That's how the fuel pump works on the carburetor. Now this guy, whoops. Shit, how does this thing go again? I always forget this. Whoop, no. Oh, wait, it goes like that. No, damn it. Oh, there we go. Alright, it goes like that, and then just fits right on there. You can't really screw this part up because those two tabs, again, there's a tab there and a tab there that fit in there. And again, I'm sure there are better videos out there, but I only do this, you know, once or twice a year, basically. Let's see if I can show you this pretty well going back together here. This only goes in one way. So basically it goes in like this. The crank vent breather down here connects onto there. That goes on your diaphragm, or that goes on the diaphragm rather, that you saw when we had this guy apart. The carburetor just slides in like that, and it should just slide home like that. Now you got to connect your fuel line down here, which I have fat fingers, so it can be kind of difficult. Let's see if I can get a screwdriver there to kind of help push it up. There we go. That slipped back on there with no troubles. The fuel line, or not fuel line, rather the throttle linkage is on this side here. Sometimes gives me troubles, again, just because I kind of have big fingers. Alright, take two there. I had a little bit of an interruption, but the throttle linkage right here, you can just kind of use a screwdriver and your finger to just pop it up over. There's a loop on the carburetor here. You can just use your fingers to kind of pop that in there. Now our carburetor is back where it needs to be, so what we can do is we can go ahead and put our back plate, I guess you'd call this. I'm not exactly sure what it's called on here, and this just snaps in place. Clutch back on it here. I'm just going to go ahead and flip the saw on the side here. I'm going to go ahead and grease the bearing. I don't know if there's a special grease you're supposed to use. I just happen to have some Napa grease here handy, so we're going to go ahead and use that and just kind of work it into the bearing. And then slide this guy on there. Slide your clutch back on there. Now, one thing you definitely need to do, like I said before, is you need to align the pin on your oiler with the pin on your clutch drum here, which mine is right there, so I can just kind of see it. And you can feel it. I'm going to double check it here, just slide it off here. Yep, I'm good. Right there. Now you should be able to feel it. It'll bind if you don't have it on there right. So now we've re-lubed our bearing. We've got our clutch back together. We're going to go ahead and put our rim sprocket back on. Slides on there like that. The little washer deal here, I don't know what that's called. And then you just go ahead and put your C-clip on here, and I'm going to try and do this without launching it all over the garage. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and throw the bar and chain back on it here. I know people are going to probably call me a weenie for wearing gloves for this, but I have sliced the crap out of myself enough with some chisel chains over the years that, yeah, I wear gloves now. Alright, I generally will just kind of lace the chain back on the bar here. Now also, this is not a chisel chain, this is a rip chain. I'm going to be doing some ripping here, so it just slides back on there. You can kind of unthread it here, so I can kind of flip this around where you can see. I generally put it around the rim sprocket there, and then just kind of work it back onto, or work the chain rather back onto the bar, while kind of supporting the bar like so. Just kind of work it back and forth like that until you get it. And it helps if you actually take and adjust the tensioner back to the point where it will match up with, whoops, helps go the right direction. There we go. Now we can kind of snug this guy up here and it's not going anywhere. Make sure you don't have any funk in here. Pop your side cover back on. Take your nuts here, put them back on there. Now these are 3/4 inch nuts. I'll flip that around so you can see them here. Just thread them back on there. Now I don't believe these have to be super tight. I never tighten them up too ridiculously well. So yeah, we'll just turn these guys down here and adjust the tension. Alright, so for adjusting the tension on these, what I generally will do is just kind of hold the bar, weight of the bar up with the chain and just kind of work the tensioner here, whoops, and kind of just jiggle the bar up and down until this kind of gets fairly snug, and I just have a little bit of droop like that after I adjust it here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up a little bit more. So you pull up on it like that, and you just have barely a hint of droop down there. And I think we're good. We can go ahead and snug these guys down. Alright, now one thing I always do after I snug the bolts here is I will take the tension off the adjuster down here, just so if you pinch a chain or something, you're not going to break the casing here. So we're nicely adjusted. We'll go ahead and take this guy outside and fire it up and check that our carburetor is adjusted properly. I have a tachometer on this saw, so you can go ahead and adjust the low and high jets of the carburetor here. I generally run this about 10.5. I believe the maximum spec on this saw is 12,000, but I just kind of like to back it off just so it lasts a little bit longer.